Lack of evangelism in the Western Church is a long-standing problem. Originally, I set out to conduct these interviews in order to talk to people and find out what their interactions had been with the church and Christians, to find out what we could do better in order to reach more people. To that end, I decided to travel to Norman to OU's Campus Corner and talk to people there. However, as I conducted my interviews, I discovered a much more serious underlying problem. Many of the students were unable to answer my very first question: are you a Christian?
Yes.
I'm not.
I am. I'm Catholic.
I was born and raised Catholic. I'm kind of in that stage of figuring out what exactly I am.
It's kind of hard right now. I'm not exactly sure.
He's figuring himself out right now.
I'm like unaffiliated with anything.
Not practicing, no.
Honestly, I'm not very religious. I'm Methodist, but I don't really follow it too hard, to be completely honest.
I mean, I'm a Christian, but I don't attend church every Sunday.
After the rather ambiguous answers I received to my first question, I followed it up with a question about church attendance. While attending church does not mean that you are a Christian, and not attending church does not mean that you're not a Christian, it is a good indicator about where your heart is. And people who say that they don't have time, or that they're just not the church type, often have an underlying heart issue that needs to be dealt with.
Try.
I don't go very often.
I go at least a couple times a month.
Since I've been in college, no, but in high school I did.
Not gonna lie, I'm one of those holiday people. My parents go to church, but once I turned 18, I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna do my own thing. But I still go on, Easter, Christmas time, even around Thanksgiving, I'll go, stuff like that.
Because many of the people said that they did not attend church regularly, I felt that it was important to find out why. So instead of asking, why don't you attend church, I decided to ask the flip side: what would make church worthwhile for you? A lot of people said that what they wanted in a church was for it to be more inclusive. When many people say inclusive, they mean accepting of everybody and not wanting anyone to change, which is not what being a Christian is all about. Churches should be inclusive, but they should be inclusive in that they accept everyone as they are and then allow them to come in and to meet with God and to open their hearts to His work in their lives so that they can change from who they were into who He wants them to be.
It's for me, a church that I would want to attend isn't necessarily like one that I prefer. It's just like more of like a time-consuming part that kind of deters me away from going to church. Just like I'm busy a lot, so that's why I don't really attend a lot. I mean, I guess I think there's some student clubs on campus that just make it a little bit easier, have more events, and make it easy to socialize with kids my age.
I think it's just like location-wise
And
then
schedules.
Schedules, yeah. Usually we have
Stuff
a
on
lot of
Sundays.
stuff on Saturdays, and then so Sundays, then we have to catch up on schoolwork and stuff, and I kind of put off a lot of my schoolwork till Sundays.
If I were going to go every Sunday, it would probably be for someone else. If I had a child, I would want it to at least have that exposure to the church early on, and later in their life, if they chose to believe, once they can figure it out on their own, they can do that, because that's sort of what I did.
I think it would need to be inclusive, make everyone feel welcome.
For me, it would definitely be something that's like all-inclusive for all different kinds of people, all different kinds of religions, no matter what sex you are or whatever your preferences are. It's just something that everyone can come to and feel safe and talk about whatever they wanted to with someone that they trusted, and non-judgmental for sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I would want.
Finding out the role that faith plays in people's lives is important to finding out the importance that they place on faith in their lives. For a lot of people, even though they said they weren't Christians or didn't attend church or were on the edge of being Christian or not Christian, they said that faith played a really big role in their life, especially in helping them get through hard times. I found that for many people, faith is more of a life preserver or something that they pull out just when they need it, but all the rest of the time they just kind of tuck it away in a corner of their life so that they don't have to think about it.
Pretty big one. I'm one of those people who's pretty, when bad things happen, I'm just like, it happened for a reason. It'll play out. It'll work out. Like, I think thinking about it like that makes it a lot easier to live. It's just more chill.
I mean, I would say, like, I guess it plays a major role, and then again, it doesn't. Like, it's one of those things, like, I think it's there, it's there to lift me up whenever I'm down, but it's also, you need to remember it when now, so you're, going through good times, because it's not just there when you're having hardships.
I don't know, just like everyday life, I guess, plays part every day. Through school and stress week and tests and, just being a college kid.
To be honest, like not really much lately. It's been more like my mom really is religious, so it's affected her more.
I guess it doesn't really like affect me one way or the other because I'm not really like big into church and stuff like that.
I don't really go to church every Sunday. I'm not that type of person, but I mean, I am religious. I mean, it's just something that I believe in. It's a very good moral guide. That's what I believe.
I guess I kind of use it as a moral compass, but I'm not like active in a church or anything like that.
While I don't go to church as often as I used to, I mean, the same essence is still in, and I still believe in everything, and always try and be like a better person and be the best I can be and promote God in a great way.
I think that faith and spirituality is like the backbone of everyone's lives, whether it's faith or just anything else. I think that spirituality is like an important part of being human.
After using my other questions to get a baseline about where people were at in their spiritual walk, I jumped straight into evangelism. I started asking people if they'd ever shared their faith with anyone who believed differently than they do, and I got actually very similar answers from everyone. Many people said that they shared their faith with people often, but not in a way that would make it seem as though their belief was any better than anyone else's. Many people said that they were willing to talk about it with other people and considered that sharing their faith, even though they were careful to stress that they were not wanting people to conform to their belief, but were just talking about it in an open, intellectual setting. The answers to this question were some of the most telling about the problems with evangelism in the Western Church today. Because a lot of people said that they shared their faith, but didn't necessarily say that they shared it with the intention of sharing truth with people. They were just sharing it with the intention of an open exchange of information, comparing beliefs, but in a purely academic sense, not in a spiritual, deep, far-reaching sense that would actually cause change in people's lives.
I try to live it out as best as I can and show other people in that way. But as far as like telling someone about my faith, it kind of happens every day because in college there's a bunch of different people with different faiths. I honestly can't remember the last time I like specifically talked to someone who had a different faith than I did. Maybe within the last month or so.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know some people who are like atheists, and then I know some people that are really hardcore Christians, and that's what they, every day they live their lives through Christ. So just kind of depends on who you talk to.
Well, I have a friend whose parents are Muslim. She's taking a Christianity class, so we kind of just talk about it a little bit. But I only share it if someone asks.
I mean, I talk about it, but it's one of those things I definitely don't feel like it's appropriate to like force something you believe down if someone doesn't want to accept it. But I think it's interesting to have conversations with people who have differing beliefs.
I don't ever really try to conform them to anything. I'm just kind of like the whole coexist thing, whatever. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't necessarily believe there has to be one. I feel like your religion's your religion.
Like on an intellectual level, in a conversation, but yeah.
Never. I don't think I've ever done that.
These last two questions, I believe, are some of the most important that I asked. While the others got to the heart of what people believed about their faith, these went back to the source of their beliefs. Many people, although they said that they were Christians, had clearly unbiblical views about God. They believed that God was out there somewhere, and that he was probably in control of things, but mostly just to keep bad things from happening, not so much to affect good things, or mostly, especially, not to get involved in people's lives.
I mean, if you want to sum it up, it's like in the prayer Our Father. So like that's like the easiest way to summarize it for me.
Well, I'm Catholic, so I believe what the church teaches, and that Jesus is our Savior, and that we can only go to heaven through him.
I mean, I believe that God and Jesus Christ are the only way to go to heaven after you die.
You know, I believe there is a higher power. I believe God does exist. I also believe that, Jesus died for our sins. I do believe all of it. It's just more of a matter of fact that I don't necessarily follow all the Christian, I guess, ideals, you could say. But I'd still consider myself a Christian.
I subscribe to more the theory that God is more of a time turner, and that he sort of wound the clock that keeps moving. It's just more of a, not total predestination, but that at certain points he intervenes throughout your life. But for the most part, you're making your own path.
I'd say he probably guides things to happen, allows things to happen, doesn't necessarily cause bad things to happen or anything like that, but he allows things to happen.
That he exists, that he made us.
I believe he exists, and I believe he does have a reason for everything, but I mean for every little thing, I don't think it's one of those.
I believe that there is a higher power, but that's about it for me.
I believe that there's a higher being, and that there's someone up there, whether you call it God or whoever you call it, and he's watching over us, and he makes it you just live your life the way you want it. It's not predetermined or anything.
I believe there is a God, I just don't know what it is.
In a way, I found this last question to be the most interesting as far as answers go. Many people who seem to have pretty unstable or uncertain beliefs held them with enough conviction that when they were asked what it would take to change them, they said nothing. Or other people said that it would take conclusive proof to change their beliefs, even though they said earlier that they didn't really know what they believed.
A lot. As a Catholic, we don't really change our beliefs very often. I mean, we have our way of doing things, and a lot of other people do their thing, and you could sit here all day and probably not going to be swayed.
You probably couldn't change mine.
I think at this point in my life, nothing will. Going through college is kind of a vital time in a person's life, and it's very formative. And I feel like I've remained pretty constant in my faith, so I'm confident that I will remain constant.
Nothing. It's kind of my own personal belief. I don't think anyone could persuade me to change.
Well, I've been raised Christian my entire life, so I've listened to a lot of people from other religions, and I think it's important to respect those, but I don't know if I would ever change my beliefs just because my belief is so strong about it. I really don't know what could change my mind about it.
I don't really know if anything could. I guess I'm just kind of at that age where I've set my mind on who I am, I guess, you know.
I think that certain events shape how you believe, and it's just like a personality. It's how are you raised, and the events that happen in your life shape your beliefs. So it's how you respond to what challenges it and what strengthens it.
I think I've kind of made up my mind through my life experiences. Because I feel like everyone kind of chooses their experience, or chooses their religion based off their life experiences, I guess, and like what kind of made them go one way or the other, if that makes sense. So I feel like I'm really content with what I have now in my life now.
I honestly don't know if you really, I mean, like, that sounds really bad, because, like, obviously I can change my mind, but I don't know, like, I think I would have to have someone tell me something, and then I don't know if that would change my beliefs, but if someone were to tell me something and then I were to go and see exactly what they were saying, that would make me definitely think about it more.
Proof of something else in the universe?
Probably just a lot of research. That's the only thing that sways my beliefs, really.
Like a personal experience, a big event. If something ever happened to me, like a miracle, or I guess something like that.
I mean, just imagine if Jesus ever came back, and I mean, would anyone ever believe him unless they could see him do something that was totally tangible, like you hear about in the scripture? And
Jesus coming back, that would convince me.
One thing that I did find very interesting was that people were much more willing to talk to me in the college setting than they were in a regular everyday life setting, such as going to the mall or going to Walmart. When I was walking around Campus Corner, there were very few people that said, "No, I don't want to talk to you." But for the most part, people were very willing and open about their beliefs. Sometimes it caught them a little off guard when I would ask them something like, "What do you believe about God?" But they were always willing to stop and think about it and give me an honest answer. I learned that it's not as hard to talk to people as it seems. A lot of people are more willing to talk than we give them credit for, and even to talk about serious things like faith and spirituality. So many times we limit ourselves to small talk because we think that's as deep as people are willing to go. But a lot of people enjoy talking about bigger life issues, and we're just not willing to go that deep with them because we don't want to be seen as Bible thumpers who make everything we do about our faith. There were so many people that were open about not believing in God or believing something contrary to what Christians might believe, or to just admitting they didn't really know what they believed about God. Or we need to know what we believe before we can share it with anyone else. That's why having these conversations before we're put in that situation, having these conversations with one another, asking these questions of fellow Christians is so important. We need to be building one another up daily and not just waiting until we're put in a situation where we're having a deep conversation with somebody who may not know the truth. We need to be figuring out what we believe every day and figuring out what we believe in detail so that we're able to explain it, as Peter says, to give a reason for the hope that we have so that people know why we believe what we believe. Speaking to all these people impressed on my heart the amount of lostness that we have within our own churches. We don't have to go out into the community to find people who don't know Jesus. We don't have to go out to the slums to find people who need the gospel. They're right in the midst of us. We need to look around and to identify people and to be willing to sit down and talk to people about what they believe, and to realize that just because someone says they're a Christian doesn't necessarily mean that they are. It's not as hard as it seems to go out and talk to people. We just need to do it.